I have some really important things to say to the pet industry right now, and particularly the dog training community. But before I do, I just want to acknowledge that what I'm about to talk about pales in comparison to what is going on for so many people right now in the world, and particularly talking about the United States. And I just want to send my love and thoughts to every individual, family, community that is being directly affected by this in any way. So I'm going to say some things about the dog training industry that frankly need to be said. These are some things that are going to be hard to hear for most of us because they're hard to look at, they're hard to accept, they're hard to process. And I just want everyone to know that this is not about blame. This is about us taking responsibility as dog professionals for the fact that we are authorities in our field, that the culture looks to for direction, counsel, and advice about the care of their dogs. We built an entire culture around throwing stones at each other in the pet dog industry since the dawn of social media. It's great. Maybe it was there before, but it's much worse now. And the things that we're fighting about, dog training, we need to understand they present a fraction of animal welfare. Behavioral interactions with people, which is where dog training is in the 5 domains of animal welfare, is just a part of the larger picture of behavioral interactions, which is then just a part of the larger picture of the 5 domains. So we're talking about dog training being less than a third of a fifth of animal welfare. So that's like less than 5%. So just stop and think about that for a minute, right? And yet it's all that anyone's talking about at the expense of all the dogs who need us to pay attention to all these things that are actually common across the political aisles in the pet dog industry that most of us are absolutely doing, recommending, teaching dogs to do, etc. So we need to pull the Band-Aid off, stop walking on eggshells, and talk about some really difficult things. Because if we're going to talk about welfare, we need to talk about welfare. If we're going to talk about it at all, we need to talk about all of it. So I'm just going to scratch the surface today and give you a few things that we need to be thinking about as examples of how much work there is to do in all of the other domains of welfare that we frankly have been neglecting as an industry. So we are suggesting that the industry, if we're going to be talking about welfare, which we very much think we should, we think moving in the direction of the 5 domains is absolutely a wonderful step, but we need to actually do the comprehensive work. So as an example, elimination. Most dogs can't go to the bathroom or relieve themselves when they need to go. They are the only captive species of animal that we expect that from. Think about that for a minute. We routinely expect and then train, condition dogs to tolerate having to hold their urine and defecation for up to 8 hours, 10 hours. Like, do you have any idea how absolutely cruel and inhumane that is and how agonizing it is? Just think about the last time you had to go really bad. When you gotta go, and you should be able to go. We need better solutions to make that available for dogs in captivity. If we're going to be keeping them in captivity the way that we do, we need better solutions for them. That's just one example. That then leads me to how much time your average dog is spending indoors on a daily basis. When I did the math, my average client, their pet dog was probably inside for upwards of 22 hours a day, right? Couple walks a day, longer ones, few other additional chances to relieve yourself. That's about it. That was pretty standard and normal, right? That's not acceptable for a species of animal that frankly has evolved and even been selected for, in most cases with most breeds, to be outside most of the time as their natural habitat. So we're totally failing in that regard as well. Then we think about how much time we confine our dogs to exceptionally small spaces, whether those be crates, kennels, rooms, etc. We can call it management, we can call it confinement, we can call it kenneling, whatever you want to call it. It is a measure of behavioral restriction that has very real welfare consequences for dogs. We don't talk about that either. And then let's talk about the fact that when they finally do get outside, right? When we finally do open the door after being gone all day, they didn't have access to a bonded social member, which is also a problem for any social species of animals. So most dogs routinely spending 8 to 10 hours a day without access to another social bonded member. And then we come home, they're excited to see us. They want to get out of the restricted space. They need to go to the bathroom. They want to get outside. They want to go be a dog. And what do? We get out the door and we expect them to be compliant compliant with our commands and to inhibit and follow our directions. Look, I understand there's some very practical reasons for all that, but when you add all of this up, the truth is it is just not acceptable what we are expecting dogs to cope with. And then we call the fallout of all that behavior problems, right? And then we throw more training at the dog. Are you starting to see where I'm going with this? So we have this 95% that we're routinely neglecting, which creates the need for more dog training, which is this less than 5%, which then we're focusing all of our attention on. The truth is that we all need to do better. We all need to be well-versed and literate in animal welfare science as dog professionals in the 21st century. We just need to. We are responsible for what we communicate, what we do, how we act, the examples that we're setting. And frankly, we don't need to be showing our work. We need to be showing our welfare. We need a complete and total paradigm shift. A few decades ago, just remember, not that long ago, dogs could actually meet their own welfare, right? When I was growing up in the city, dogs were loose most of the time. Then they came home and they were our pets at the end of the day. They can't do that anymore, at least not in the United States. So that means it's on us to meet those welfare needs. We are actually responsible for that. None of us are getting this completely right, guys. We haven't been. And yet we are totally throwing stones at each other as if we're not ourselves in glass houses, when the truth of it is that all of us actually are. So maybe it's time to stop throwing stones, guys. Maybe it's time to grow up together and realize that we are, in fact, all in glass houses, and a lot of the perfectly normal stuff that we've all been doing or guilty of at one time or another, if not still, is where we should really be putting our attention, that 95%. So for the love of dogs, if you're going to talk about welfare, make sure that you're literate in it. Make sure that you actually have the whole story. And then let's do better for dogs. They're doing the best that they can. The question is, are we?